Inner conflict is not a passing phase, nor is it something that will haunt you for the rest of your life. It's a sign that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are facing daily choices that require thought and courage. It took me a very long time to realize this, and I believe many people feel the same because we are often sold a false idea that one day we will finally reach a moment where we say, "Ah, I'm fine now. My inner conflict is over. I'm confident. I can set boundaries easily, and I can handle anyone without struggle." But the truth is very different. There's no such perfect moment. We are ever changing beings. Every day you think differently, feel differently, and discover parts of yourself you never knew before. Something you once rejected. If you had done it back then, you might have felt guilty or uncomfortable, but with time and maturity, it becomes natural. Your interests shift, your thoughts evolve, and even your priorities change. This is completely normal. It's simply part of life. What's more dangerous, however, is the trap many people fall into being kinder to others than they are to themselves. You sacrifice your time, your comfort, even your happiness just to please others or gain their approval. You end up doing things you don't truly want only to look good in someone else's eyes. And this way of living directly fuels inner conflicts instead of peace and reassurance. You're left with a constant inner voice whispering you didn't do enough or you weren't good enough. Here lies the heart of the matter. Conflict will always exist. It's a natural part of your journey. The goal isn't to be perfect, nor to silence every negative thought. What matters is learning when to listen to that voice and when to let it go, because often it's nothing more than blame that doesn't serve you. Sometimes inner conflict is your own self sending you a message, a sign that says there is something you need to revisit, something inside you feels unsettled. Don't try to suppress it completely and don't run from it. Instead, approach it with care. Understand your feeling, trace them to their source, and decide when to let them influence you and when to let them pace without disturbing your pace. To make this clearer, let's take a simple example. You might feel guilty for turning down a friend's invitation even though you needed rest. That guilt is a natural inner conflict, but it's not wrong. It's an opportunity to learn how to set boundaries, to decide what's truly best for you without sacrificing your well being. Inner conflict only becomes a problem when we let it control our lives. When we allow it to dictate our decision again and again. Passion used to live by others' expectation instead of our own. So the key is acceptance first, then understanding, and then careful action. Inner conflict is not your enemy. Sometimes it's your guide. It teaches you when to pause, when to move forward, and when to change. And with time, you'll learn how to live with it in a way that makes you stronger and more self aware. I realized something very important. There will never be a moment when you can say to yourself or to anyone else, "My inner conflict is completely over." Believe me, that's just not possible. Why? Because as humans, we are constantly changing. Our thoughts evolve, our emotions shift, and even the way we see things change from day to day. For example, think back to a time when you felt guilty for spending even an hour doing something you loved or simply lying on the couch. You probably believed that any free time was a waste. But now, after going through different experiences, you might realize that making a break, reading a book, or doing something you enjoy isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for your mental health. It actually makes your life better and more balanced. Let's take another example from work. Maybe you used to say yes to every request from your coworkers, even when it drained you or went against what you really wanted to do. You thought that by doing so you'd earn more respect and be more likable, but in reality, all that Alda, yes, did was add more stress, more exhaustion, and of course, more inner conflict. And when it comes to personal relationships, let's say you stayed in a friendship or relationship that wasn't healthy for you, maybe because it gave you a sense of connection or simply because you were afraid of being alone. Your mind knew this relationship wasn't good for you, but your heart kept holding on every time you ignored that inner voice or chose to please the other person instead of yourself. Your inner conflict only grew stronger. And before we continue, if you're enjoying this episode, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything new. Even in small, everyday decision, your inner conflict shows up. For instance, do you choose to work on a project you're passionate about, even though it's hard and demanding? Or do you choose the easier, better job that feels more secure and meets others' expectation? I don't mean that a job is easy, but compared to building your own project and making it succeed, it can feel like the safer choice. Or maybe you face a choice between spending quality time with yourself versus attending a social gathering you don't really want to go to. All of these moments reveal your inner conflict, but they also give you this chance to learn something about yourself. The goal here isn't to run away from responsibility or avoid hard decisions. The goal is to pause and ask yourself, what really makes me happy? What do I want for myself, not just to please others? When you start handling this moment with awareness, inner conflict shifts from being a burden into being a guide. It shows you what you love, what you need, and gives you the strength to say no when necessary and yes to yourself when you need it most. Imagine this: one day you'll be able to say to yourself with full confidence, I've learned how to live with my inner conflict. It doesn't scare me anymore. It actually helps me grow and evolve. That realization, trust me, makes you stronger, clearer about your life, and less affected by outside pressure or other people's opinions. My next lesson has to do with how inner conflict shows up in our behavior toward others, often without use even realizing it. Let's look at some real life examples. For example, you might be at work and suddenly feel upset when a colleague makes a simple comment, maybe about the way you presented your project. You feel like she's trying to belittle you, but in reality, it's your own fear of failure that makes her words sting so much. If we were more at peace with yourself and your inner conflicts, you might have just listened, smiled, and taken the comment as a chance to improve your skills instead of letting it bother you. Or picture yourself at university, you have a presentation, all eyes are on you, and you feel the nervous building. After it's over, you start criticizing yourself. I wasn't good enough. Why did I get so nervous? That feeling isn't just stage fright. It's an inner conflict between your desire to succeed and your fear of failing in front of others. But if you approach the same situation as a chance to learn something new, it could turn into a positive experience rather than a source of guilt. When it comes to romantic relationship, inner conflicts can be deeply painful. Imagine being with someone who doesn't show the same level of care and attention you give them. Your heart wants to stay, but your mind whispers, I wasted my time. Is this person really worth my effort? That conflict teaches you how to distinguish between attachment and true value, and how to set boundaries that protect your dignity and energy. It hurts when your heart wants one thing, but your mind knows it's unhealthy. Still, every moment of conflict is a chance to learn more about yourself, what you truly want, and what you're willing to let go of. The same thing, happiness in friendship. Many people compromise their values or boundaries just to be accepted by a group. Maybe you laughed at jokes you didn't like in school or went along with behavior you didn't agree with just to fit in. The result, anger and inner pressure. But when you learn to stand firm in your values, you'll see that the friends who truly appreciate you will stay, and those who don't respect you are better left behind. The key is knowing the difference between healthy feedback and unresolved. Inner conflict, healthy feedback helps you grow. Unresolved conflict makes you blame others, or conflict makes you blame others or yourself for no real reason. Once you learn to handle it, you become able to respond calmly, make confident decisions, and live in peace with yourself. Sometimes inner conflict shows up in the tiniest details of our daily lives, but it feels much stronger than we expect. Imagine waking up in the morning with a long to-do list. Some tasks are urgent or for school or work. Others are personal, like exercising or spending time with yourself. That little voice creeps in. Will I be able to finish everything? Will I be will I be enough? That voice isn't just facing anxiety. It's a reflection of your values and priorities. Many people try to silence it or think being perfect means ignoring it, but the truth is that facing it step by step and acknowledging it is what makes you stronger and more self aware. Here's another example with shopping. You need something important, but your budget is tight. Simply the conflict arises between desire and caution. Should I buy it now and enjoy what I need, or wait and save my money? That same tension appears in choosing hobbies, or even when saying no to a close friend who asks you for something that doesn't work for you. Each of these moments teaches you how to set boundaries without guilt, and how to choose what truly supports your happiness and mental well-being. In relationship, inner conflict becomes even more obvious. Imagine meeting someone new, you act kinder that you actually feel just to avoid disagreement or to be accepted by them. In that moment, your inner conflict is reminding you that setting boundaries wisely and respecting yourself is more important than trying to please everyone. Sometimes you might feel guilty for saying no, but that's actually the healthy way to protect yourself and the positive energy around you. Even the smallest daily moment reveal inner conflict. For example, when preparing a presentation or a university project, you may feel fear and anxiety. What if I can't present it well? What if they laugh at me? Here, your inner conflict teaches you that relying on yourself and taking small steps is far more valuable than chasing perfect performance. Every time you face this feeling and learn from it, your awareness and self-confidence grow stronger. In our professional lives too, inner conflict shows up when making work or study decision. Imagine being offered a new job or project, but deep inside you here. Can I really succeed? Will I make mistakes? Do I even deserve this true trust? That moment is teaching you to evaluate opportunities, understand your limits, and make thoughtful decision without guilt or excessive hesitation. Sometimes inner conflict shows up in small social situations, like attending gatherings or parties. You might feel pressure to go just to fit in. Well, deep down, a voice whispers, "Do I really want to go? Will I feel comfortable there?" These moments teach you how to distinguish between what you truly want and what others expect from you. In short, inner conflict isn't always an obstacle. It's a powerful indicator. It helps you understand yourself better, clarify your values and desires, and learn how to balance what you love with what you need. It guides you in protecting your energy and dignity, whether in big situations like a work project or in small ones like a personal decision. Each time you face this conflict with awareness, you grow stronger and more capable of living with calm and balance. Sometimes inner conflict isn't just a passing feeling or a quick moment for worry. It can stay with you all the time, like a small voice constantly judging every step you take. Take a simple example. Imagine yourself at university about to give a presentation in front of professors and classmates. You're excited to give the best version of yourself, and suddenly that inner voice kicks in. You might feel people might laugh at you. You're not strong enough. At that moment, the inner conflict takes over, making you so anxious that even the simplest words become hard to say. And what happens afterward? When you go home, your mind replays the entire situation. You might tell yourself, why didn't I present better? Why didn't I face it with confidence? That's when the inner conflict grows, becoming a constant feeling as if you're stuck in the same place, unable to move forward. And it doesn't only show up in big situations like presentations, it appears in everyday moments too. For example, in a work meeting or even while sitting with friends, if you feel like you can't define yourself or express your opinion, the inner voice starts blaming you. Why didn't you speak up? Why did you let them belittle you? Over time, this inner conflict can make you fearful of any new situation, no matter how small, because it links every new experience to feelings of inadequacy and anxiety. Sometimes our inner conflict shows up as aggressive behavior or exaggerated reaction to everyday situations, even toward people who have nothing to do with what we're actually feeling inside. Imagine, for example, you've had a very long day at work, full of tough tasks and pressure from your boss or colleague. When you finally come home, a family member asks you for something simple like tidying up the room or helping with dinner. Simply, you feel irritated or unreasonably angry, almost like you're about to explode. That reaction isn't really about the request, it's the result of your accumulated stress and inner struggle that's been building inside you all day. But when we learn to understand our inner conflicts and deal with it consciously, everything changes. You begin to recognize when to allow yourself to rest and when to push yourself a step forward. You learn to distinguish between constructive criticism that motivates you and destructive criticism that only fuels your inner conflict. Take simple everyday example. If you love drawing or waiting, sometimes that inner voice says that isn't good enough. That isn't good. Nobody's going to like it. If you listen to it all the time, you might drift away from your patient. But if you see it as just a small signal, not a final judgment, you'll learn to keep moving forward step by step, and you'll learn start to see your progress grow over time. Another example, if you're in a difficult relationship, you hurt where may want to stay with the person, but your mind knows it's harmful. Inner conflict here isn't just about emotions, it's also about self respect and dignity. How you handle this conflict will determine whether you continue or whether you begin a new chapter in your life. It's also important to understand that inner conflict isn't a flaw and it doesn't mean weakness. It's part of being human. Even very successful people experience inner conflict. The difference lies in how they respond to it. The person who learns to understand their inner struggle and use it as a tool for growth to gradually build self-confidence and takes small steps toward their goals without being weighed down by constant guilt or anxiety. If we, if we look back at all daily situations, presentations, relationship, work, personal patience, each one can become a source of inner conflict. If we don't understand it well, that's why the goal isn't to eliminate inner conflict. That's not even possible, but to learn to manage it so it serves use rather than harms use. The same principle applies to other social situations. Imagine you're at university or school, giving an important presentation in front of classmates and teachers. During your talk, a peer criticizes your idea or makes a subtle joke at your expense. You might instantly feel, with the urge to either react strongly or withdraw into silence. The real issue isn't the criticism itself, but your inner feeling of inadequacy or fear of failure. People who understand their inner conflicts know that these emotions are normal and they can handle them without turning them into aggressive reaction or moment of embarrassment for themselves or for others. Even in small everyday situations, inner conflict shows up in subtle ways. For example, if you're stuck in a long line or waiting in a crowded place, you may feel irritated or restless with the people around you, but the real cause isn't the person in front of you. It's your inner sense of impatience or the mental pressure built up from a long day. Here, awareness of your inner conflict helps you cultivate patience, deal with the situation calmly, and maybe even turn it into something positive like practicing deep breathing or thinking of something comforting while you wait. At work, inner conflict can show up in professional situations too. Imagine you're working on an important project and you have a stronger idea that's different from what your boss or colleagues suggest. You might feel uneasy or hesitant to share your opinion out of fear of criticism or embarrassment, while another part of you wants to define your idea. People who handle their inner struggles will know how to express their opinions constructively, with maintaining relationships and not letting inner pressure control them. The key point here is that dealing with inner conflict doesn't mean suppressing emotions or ignoring them. It means understanding them and knowing where they come from. Their source might be a past experience, social pressure, a sense of inadequacy, or even conflicting desires between what you truly want for yourself and what others expect from you. Knowing the source gives you the power to act consciously in daily life as well as in personal and professional relationships. And finally, here's something very practical you can do whenever you feel inner tension or the urge to react. Pause for a moment before responding, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this reaction really about this person or is it about what I'm feeling inside? Sometimes simply recognizing this difference makes your response calmer and more meaningful. It gives you the chance to act in a way that protects your peace and relationship instead of letting inner conflict take over and create more problems. One of the most important lessons I've learned through my journey with inner conflict is that every time you feel confused or unsettled, there's a reason behind it. It's never just random. For instance, you might find yourself in a school or work situation where you're faced with several options, each with its own pros and cons, like what happened to me back in school. I had to decide whether to join a group project with classmates I didn't fully trust. Deep down, I knew this project could open big doors for my future. I also felt uncomfortable and afraid of failing or of getting stuck with people I didn't enjoy working with. That was a powerful inner conflict. One part of me wanted to seize the opportunity, while another part wanted to avoid the discomfort. This same feeling can appear in daily life, like when you're deciding between staying in a relationship isn't serving you or letting go and starting fresh. Personally, I faced this many times, especially when my heart was still attached to someone, but my mind knew the truth that the relationship wasn't helping me grow, but instead draining my energy and pressure. Precious time. These inner conflicts make use life through moments of doubt, fear, and pressure, but they also teach you a vital lesson. It's okay to feel confused. What matters most is learning how to deal with that feeling and making wise choices that honor your pace and well being. And here comes the care point. Recognizing inner conflict isn't just about knowing it exists, but about understanding it and tracing it back to its source. Why do I feel this pressure or hesitation? Is it because of other people's expectation? Is it my own fear of failure? Or is it simply the clash between different desires within me? In my own life, I often found myself torn between chasing a personal dream and meeting the expectation of society or family. That feeling was exhausting, but I learned to handle it step by step. I wrote down my top, analyzed each option, and set clear priorities for myself. Even with small everyday decision, inner conflict shows up. For example, I once decided to buy an online self-development course, but the cost was high for my budget. A part of me wanted to invest in myself and grow my skills, while another part was afraid of taking the risk or wasting money. This is where inner conflict becomes very clear. It's not always about huge. This is where inner conflict becomes very clear. It's not always about huge. Life chooses or dramatic mistakes. Sometimes it's about little details that affect you more than we realize. The lesson I learned is that inner conflict isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Every time you feel that tension, it's a chance to understand yourself better. Not a reason to feel shame or blame yourself, for example, when you're pressured to choose between two jobs or between keeping a friend and letting them go. Try sitting with yourself to sort out your feelings and thoughts. Sometimes the solution is simple. Set your priorities based on what truly supports your happiness and peace of mind, not on what others expect from you. Inner conflict also teaches you about your limits. I remember once accepting an invitation to a social event just to please the people around me. Even though I felt exhausted and had no real desire to go. The result? Felt drained all day, and that inner voice started criticizing my choices and making me feel guilty. From that experience, I learned something important. Respecting your emotional and mental boundaries matters far more than meeting outside expectations. In short, inner conflict in this part of life is like a mirror of yourself. Each time you face a tough decision or conflicting emotions, it's a chance to discover what really matters to you and what triggers your anxiety experiencing. Inner conflict consciously through everyday example makes you more self-aware and better able to make choices that align with your values and desires rather than with pressure or expectation from others. One of the biggest lessons I've learned on my journey with inner conflict is that identifying The type of conflict you're facing makes it much easier to handle. Sometimes we feel stress or tension but can't understand the real reason behind it, so we end up repeating the same mistakes or falling into a cycle of confusion. This is completely normal because the mind is constantly trying to balance your true desires with the demands of the world around you. Take, for example, the conflict between your personal passion and what others want from you. I've personally faced this many times in my studies and career. I loved a particular field and wanted to dedicate my time and take, for example, the conflict between your personal passion and what others want from you. I've personally wanted to dedicate my time and energy to it. But at the same time, my family or society expected something different, something safer, more traditional. At first, this made me feel torn apart, guilty, and afraid. But with time, I learned that listening to my desires isn't selfish at all. It's a necessary step toward building a life that actually fits me. There's another type of inner conflict that's tied to identify and the self. Sometimes you find yourself doing things because you believe it's the right way, while inside you something feels off. For example, I used to participate in activities or make choices that didn't reflect my true interests or values just to please others or fit into a group. At first, I felt confused, even asking myself, why am I doing this? Is this really me? Over time, though, every experience like this taught me something about myself, about what I truly want and what I refuse to accept. In these moments. Inner conflict becomes a tool for self-discovery rather than a problem. Inner conflict also appears in everyday life decisions, even the small ones. For instance, I remember feeling torn between staying in a safe, stable job that didn't fulfill my passion and taking a risk to move to a new opportunity that existed me but wasn't guaranteed. Each day brought fear and anxiety, yet also excitement and anticipation. This type of conflict teaches balance. Not everything in life will be comfortable or easy, but you can learn to make decisions that align with your true values and desires without being paralyzed by fear of mistakes. Even in personal relationships, inner conflict is very noticeable. Imagine being torn between staying with someone who doesn't return your feelings or living to start a healthier, happier life. Sometimes your heart wants to stay out of attachment and love, while your mind knows that continuing will hurt you. Here, inner conflict acts as a teacher. It reminds you to respect yourself first and choose that making a difficult decision today can protect your future happiness. Another example, maybe you were always the one initiating care and giving in a relationship while the other person didn't reciprocate. That conflict creates feeling of depletion and stress, but it's also an opportunity to learn your boundaries and how to set them in a healthy way. The important lesson I've learned is that inner conflict isn't your enemy. It's a mirror reflection what you need to face and understand about yourself. Every time you feel confused or hesitant, it's a chance to discover your values, feelings, and true desires. Sometimes the solution is very simple. Sit with yourself, write down your thoughts, reflect on your emotions, and listen to your heart with an open mind. Even small matters carry valuable lessons. In my daily life, I sometimes hesitate between saying no to a friend's request or agreeing because I don't want to disappoint them, or I maybe struggle between buying something I really want and sticking to a budget. These small moments of conflict reflect larger challenges in life, teaching us how to make honest decisions for ourselves without excessive guilt. Real life examples are endless. For instance, I remember a friend who always tried to please everyone around her, even at the cost of her comfort and happiness. She constantly felt inner pressure, but once she began setting boundaries, she noticed a major shift. People who didn't add value naturally drifted away while good opportunities and supportive people drew closer. Here, inner conflict become a tool to understand who deserves to be in your life and who doesn't, rather than a continuous burden. In the end, every inner conflict is an opportunity to understand yourself more, clarify your priorities, define your values, and learn how to interact with others in a healthy way. Each time, in a healthy way, each time you learn to face your inner conflicts constructively, you become more self aware, stronger, and better able to make decisions that support your happiness and future life. One of the clearest lessons in my journey with inner conflict is that many of our daily actions and behaviors are not just random reactions. They are a direct reflection of what's happening inside you. Sometimes we feel anger, irritation, our anxiety toward another person or situation, and we tend to blame them for how we feel. But the truth is, many cases, the real cause lies within ourselves and our inner conflict. This is completely normal, but it requires awareness and practice to understand and manage it properly. In everyday life, this type of conflict appears more often than we realize. For example, you may feel frustrated with a friend because they always impose their opinion on you, or with a family member because they don't understand you, but much of that frustration actually comes from within, from your expectation of how others should behave and your desire for immediate recognition or understanding. Here, awareness of your inner conflict gives you the ability to interact with others calmly without letting negative emotions control you. Inner conflict also shows up in professional or academic decisions. Imagine wanting to start a new project or learn a new skill, but fear of either or others' expectations holds you back, or you might find yourself torn between staying in a stable, secure job and pursuing a dream that is more passionate and creative. Every time you face such decision, inner conflict signals what really matters to you. It's an opportunity to discover yourself more deeply and understand what you love and what aligns with your values and ambition. Even simple daily actions reflect this conflict. Sometimes we get angry quickly over a small thing, feel pressured when someone does something unexpected. We get angry quickly over a small thing, feel pressured when someone does something un- unexpected, or constantly compare ourselves to others. All of these feelings are reflections of inner conflict we haven't yet faced, but if we learn to identify the roots of these emotions, we can deal with them more consciously and prevent them from negatively controlling our behavior or feelings. The most important lesson from all this is that inner conflict is not a permanent obstacle. It's a tool for self discovery. Every negative feeling or moment of tension carries a message about we need to change or improve. By learning to face this conflict consciously, we can make better decisions, interact with others in a healthy way, and achieve a more balanced and happy life. Inner conflict also gives you a chance to to strengthen our self confidence. Every time we face a difficult decision or a stressful situation, we learn how to trust our abilities and listen to our true desires instead of merely following others' expectation. In this way, each inner conflict becomes a lesson, and each confrontation with it is a step toward the best version of ourselves, rather than a constant burden weighing us down. Sometimes we feel stuck in a major inner conflict, especially when it involves decisions that directly impact our lives. For example, imagine a situation like moving to a new city for work or study. Fear from your family and friends, who on one hand you feel excited to try something new, discover yourself and your abilities, and perhaps build a better career. On the other hand, fear of the unknown fills you. What if I can't adapt? What if I feel lonely? Here the inner conflict emerges, pulling you in two directions at once between excitement and fear, hope and doubt. This is the essence of inner conflict. It is not something to eliminate, but something to understand and work with. Every time you feel torn, hesitant, or anxious about a decision, it is an opportunity to reflect on what you truly want, what your priorities are, and how you can act in a way that align with your values. Whether it's a big life decision or a small daily choice, learning to recognize and navigate your inner conflict helps you build self-awareness, confidence, and a life guided by conscience. Inner conflict appears in its most vivid from because it combines the desire for growth with the fear of taking risks. Testing your ability to make a courageous decision. Or let's take a simpler, more relatable example from daily life. Imagine you want to dedicate time to exercise or a hobby you love, but you have family, school, or work commitments. A voice inside you says you need to finish your tasks first. Will another part of insist on the importance of your mental and physical well being. This type of conflict shows how our desires and needs can clash with external obligations, creating feelings of pressure and guilt if we choose one over the other. Even in personal relationships, inner conflict is very clear. Imagine times when you wanted to say no to someone asking something of you, but fear of disappointing them or losing them made you hesitate. In that moment, the inner conflict isn't just a basic feeling, it's a test of your ability to set personal boundaries. You may feel guilty if you choose yourself, or frustrated if you sacrifice too much of yourself just to please others. However, conflict becomes complicated when we allow it to control us unconsciously. unconsciously. For example, you might recall a situation with a friend or loved one where you were dissatisfied with their actions, and you kept replaying it in your mind over and over, feeling regret or anger at yourself. This type of conflict, if we don't learn to manage it, keeps you trapped in a cycle of negative thoughts and drains our energy. When managed wisely, inner conflict can become a tool for learning and growth. We can set our personal boundaries, listen to our inner voice, and choose what supports our happiness and mental well being. Instead of being stuck in a cycle of doubt and stress, think of every difficult experience you faced, every decision that left you feeling confused, and every moment of doubt or
or fear. The situation are all opportunities to better understand yourself, know what you love and what frustrates you, and shape your life in alignment with your values and goals. Honestly, I believe our inner conflict is a powerful tool in our hands. Either we learn to understand it and manage it to make it work in our favor for personal growth, or will it work against use, destroying our self-confidence, our success, and our ability to live peaceful with ourselves. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts about the episode, what you liked and what you didn't. This encourages me and helps me provide better content each time. Also, don't forget to check the description for the links included. And thank you for watching and thank you for listening. I hope this episode added something valuable for you. And that it was a pleasant light conversation. You enjoyed. I love you all for giving me a bit of your time to hear what I shared today.